Hi. Painless?
Yes, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I just wanted to, sit and talk with you. You seem to be one of the most interesting men on YouTube right now. And so I was like, you know what? I think I need to interview him.
Okay, well, let's have at it. Thank you for that. I just try to be real and just express my feelings. Okay.
So, how long have you been producing videos on YouTube?
I've been producing videos on YouTube since 2008.
Okay. What made you get into doing it?
What happened was I was in the mainland. Of course, I live in Hawaii.
Uh-huh.
And I was just on YouTube looking at all kinds of stuff. I was looking at videos about black people. I was watching like American Funniest Home Video type videos, and I stumbled across a lot of information that I previously wasn't exposed to, and then it just kind of took off from there. Just watching all types of videos and stuff like that. So that's how I got on YouTube and began to do videos.
Okay. Now, I started doing videos a couple of years ago, I think, like when I started really like going hard with it. And I remember you as Painless. And then you became Painless Reborn. And then Painless Unlimited. And on the Spot. And then there were some other names in between. And now you're Painlessrisen. Why so many usernames?
The names are, I don't know, I just come up with names. People take them down, or I close them down. I know there's a big thing that I just close channels down. A lot of my channels have been terminated because of my opinions, which is fine, It's just something to do. It's like a hobby.
Painless, you seem to have a love-hate relationship with a lot of people. Well, I should say the black YouTube community. They seem to love to listen to your videos, but they seem to also hate what you have to say. What do you think about that?
People's perceptions of you maybe they like what you're saying. They'll ride with you, and if they don't like what you're saying, they'll, of course, they may be reluctant to turn on you, but sometimes you can say something, in my opinion, what I think may be real or needed to be said. They can't handle it. Just in defense, I think there's this big misconception that you get the proverbial, and I love saying this, the proverbial, he's an Uncle Tom or he's a coon or something like that. My methods, and I do say methods because I do think there's a problem with our community. Or I wouldn't be addressing the things. And it is brash, and my delivery is harsh at times because of the frustration. It's very serious to me. So I'm not that. I think that we have some problems going on, and they're just, my deliveries, like I said earlier, they're just, they are unique. But I'm not this self-hating guy. Those things potentially do hurt. When you see that, and then you get a bunch of people saying it, and that begins to be who you are, this self-hating Uncle Tom, you get that label, it's hard to shake it off, and it does hurt.
I'm glad you brought that up because that was going to be one of my questions. Why do you think that some people, especially some black YouTubers, consider you a self-hating, and I don't call these people Uncle Tom, so to speak, because I think that's the wrong term. People don't understand who Uncle Tom was, and if they did, they wouldn't use that term. I use the term Devani. His name is Devani Priolau, and that's more of a closer term to what and quote-unquote Uncle Tom would be. Why do you think that some of the black YouTubers consider you to be a Devani Priolau?
I would say that's an interesting term. I've never heard of that, but from the conversation, the way it's going, I understand what you mean and the usage. But I believe that is as I stated earlier, my delivery is out of the norm because I think I heard you mention earlier that there's this tendency to want to say what is acceptable and what everybody will nod in agreement with.
Yes.
And if I say something and you agree with it, of course, you agree with it. But I don't do the videos to get agreement. Now, I have done some videos in the past on black women. And, as you've seen, I know you've seen that there's a barrage of videos about black women from black men.
Yes.
Slamming them, I would say, I would even say I've been involved in it. I've been involved in that. But those were my experiences. I wasn't showboating. I wasn't grandstanding. These were just my personal experiences. And, some of them were, I honed in on the negative. So I think a lot of people looked at me as like, well, see, she only takes the bad black society, black American society and culture. And that's why I believe they perceive me to be an Uncle Tom. I try not to follow the black script, and there is a black script.
Yes.
And the black script is it's everybody's fault by our own, 400 years of slavery. We don't, the idea of taking personal accountability, well, white people need to take accountability. So therefore, if they haven't taken accountability, I'm not going to take accountability. That strikes people because some people say, how dare you excuse what so-called white man has done? It's not about excusing what they've done. It's saying, hey, right now, the reality is we pretty much have an equal footing. Now, that's in the eye of the beholder. But I'd like to say that we've come a long way since then. And blaming white folks is not going to do it. Is there racism? I bet you there's racism. Is there a system in place where white supremacy, I believe, gets a little, a upper hand? Yeah, yes. But that's by no means a way to keep us suppressed and allowing us to kill each other. And when I hold that mirror up to black people and say, look, and myself, as Painless included, because I don't stand outside the black community, and I say, look at ourselves. And then I began to describe in the face. I describe the eyes. And these are symbols of me describing different things in the community that are wrong. And I say, look at our face. Look at this. Look at that. Look at that. And a lot of black people can't handle it because, I guess to them, unfortunately, they have to look and see what's really going on. And for many, they can't handle that. And I think a lot of black people on YouTube haven't or fail to neglect that there really is a problem. It's easier to call someone out almost pointing out the problem. Easier to make fun of them. It's easier to say the tap dancing for white people. It's the easier thing to do. The hard thing to do is to look in the mirror and say, you know what, I don't like what I see, I want to change it.
I've noticed that you've had some YouTube battles, sort of beefs with people. And how do you resolve those conflicts? Or have any of them been resolved?
Good question. Speaking of, let's just call it what it is, YouTube beef. YouTube beef, when I had Ann on the spot, I would say that was because I made some controversial Trayvon, the Trayvon Martin situation where this young black teenager was shot. Now, I made some controversial videos with that, and people was, after me. And my thing dealing with...
Okay, hold on a second, because I'm not very familiar. What was the most controversial video that you made, and what was said in that video?
Okay, I would say George Zimmerman had the right to defend himself.
Based on what? What did you base that on?
I based that off on the Stand Your Ground law.
But so you believe that George Zimmerman was actually standing his ground when he murdered Trayvon Martin?
At the time, I did.
What's changed?
What's changed is new information. The media has been leaking out stuff. Well, not leaking, but has putting, everything is updates. It's updates and it's updates.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you why I argued that position at that time.
Okay.
I argued that position because I, for one, believe that guns don't kill. And I know it sounds cliche, but I don't believe guns kill people. I believe people kill people. So I said, if George Zimmerman was attacked, and I said, screw the dispatcher said, not to go, why did he follow him anyway? Mm-hmm. And I said in that video, I said, when did black people start listening to police dispatchers when they feel something, that they're threatened or they feel they need to act upon something?
Mm-hmm.
So it appeared to me everyone was on their high horse, like, would you really listen to a police dispatcher if you saw someone in your community roaming around as you perceive, maybe being potential threat to the community? I said, get over it. No, we're not going to even go there. So I said, if this is what George Zimmerman thought, and, he followed Trayvon, and there was a scuffle, and he shot Trayvon Martin, which he did. He shot him and killed him. I said George Zimmerman at that time, under the Stand Your Ground statute, law, whatever have you, was in the right, because it could easily be reversed. I think people need to put themselves in a position to say, well, what if a situation where, I was attacked and I had a gun and all this stuff, and, it was a guy that was trying to beat me up. Mm-hmm. I have the law on my side to protect myself. Now, when you're introducing racism, a racial component, when you're introducing all that type of stuff, people get emotional. Black people, we get emotional about racism.
Right, but let's take the racial portion out of it completely. George Zimmerman still did not have the right to shoot Trayvon Martin based solely on the Stand Your Ground law, as we understand it.
Right.
Yeah, so at that time when you were arguing that Zimmerman was in the right, you now know you were wrong.
Oh, yeah.
So what actually changed your opinion? Like, when did the turnaround, when did this epiphany come that you were wrong about supporting Zimmerman's stance?
Well, it was more like I said, as new information came out, I mean, the guy, the investigation was botchy in the first place. Mm-hmm. And then when you see that this man had previous, and not that it mattered, but he's been let off the hook a couple of times because of his clout and his pull. And I thought that was wrong. I understand he's sending a narcotics agent out to a homicide case, which to me doesn't sound like proper police procedure. I mean, that's like sending an electrician to do a plumbing job.
Exactly.
It may not be that extreme, but it shows the variance. Why would you? I mean, where was all the homicide detectives off, or where were they at?
Yeah.
Why? So as these things began to develop, I began to see, and perhaps I spoke too soon, and I'm not scared to say that. About the Trayvon, I made hasty accusations. I do support any person protecting themselves. Now, I will say this: let's just say Trayvon Martin beat up George Zimmerman, and he was beating the crap out of George Zimmerman. I do believe that if you have a gun, you should shoot him. Mm-hmm. But that's not the case. What happened in here? He was followed, Trayvon Martin. He was shot. He didn't go to jail. That's what struck me. And I said that on the spot, too. I said, if anything, this man should at least be in prison because a life was taken. I don't care what happened. A life was taken.
Right.
I mean, there has to be some type of accountability you know, with that. I mean, that alone, it should be grounds for more than what he got.
Do you think that sometimes when you hear a story where there is a black male involved, or even just, let's just say a black person involved and then a non-black person involved, you tend to take the side of the non-black person immediately?
No, I don't do that. Based off information, and based off my personal experiences with black people, I try to look at the situation. However, there are patterns that I know from personal experience of what black people engage in. But there are certain things that black people do that I'm familiar with that I say, I see how that can be. Now, some people don't like that.
The reason I asked you about the which side would you choose immediately is because I remember watching a video. This was some time ago. And it was a video of two girls on soccer teams, opposite soccer teams. You may remember this. And there was a black girl who, she probably was tripped by the opposing team's white girl. And when she got up fighting. And I mean, she beat this white girl up. And you took the side of, look at this animal, look at this, you know, this beast just going after this white girl. And I just thought, he doesn't know what happened prior to. It could have been a situation where the white girl was talking shit. She could have threatened to, I'm going to trip your ass when you get on the field. You know, we don't really know. And yet, here Painless was, this is me thinking, here's Painless saying, look at this beast. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I remember that story. I remember that video. It was in South Carolina, if memory serves me correct. You know, let me keep it real with you. Sometimes I say things for shock value.
Okay.
I've been accused of that. And, you know, we all will put titles and stuff, but I recognize something in that particular piece of footage that caused me to say that. I don't remember exactly what I said, but what you said, I said, I said something of that effect.
To be honest, I don't know that you called her a beast, but I know you were saying that she was, you know, it was along those lines.
Right, exactly. I see myself saying that because I saw something in that piece of footage that said, you know what, now that girl didn't have to go up and do that. Now, you know, I'm trying to think about the scene, but I could see myself saying that.
Yeah.
You know?
Which leads me to my next question. Do you hate black women? I ask you that because I was watching another video. See, I sort of had to do some sort of research on you and the people on YouTube who have issues with you. And there was a woman, I don't remember her name, but she was a heavy-set black woman, very soft-spoken. She seemed very intelligent. And she did a response video to you, something about HIV. You did a video on HIV and you talked about how promiscuous black women are. And she got the impression that you really hate, or you hated, black women. And so that's where my question stems from.
Yeah, do I hate black women? Absolutely not. Secondly, that video, I remember that video. It was about women in Massachusetts, as black women being, I believe, black women having the highest rate of HIV in that state of Massachusetts. And I said it, and I could tell that what I said was really affected her. And and you know, just to get back to your question, I don't hate black women, and I don't say those things to deliberately hurt black women. What I say is, it's, again, my method, my unorthodox method of holding a mirror and saying, look, and odd that, first of all, no other women on this planet has as many videos. No other men are doing videos about their women.